Right. Good evening and welcome everyone. My name is Jean Love and it is an honor to be here tonight for the celebration of Natascha becoming a citizen of the United States. So I got to ask myself, why does that matter, the citizenship? So to answer that question, I'll give you a very quick overview of Natascha's life. So she was born in Braunschweig, Germany, to British parents. At the age of 9, she and her family came to Charleston, South Carolina, spent some time in El Paso, Texas, then found home in Indiana. She graduated from Columbus High School. She then opted to pursue her education at Indiana University, getting a bachelor's degree in anthropology and gender studies. After that, in 2003, she headed to our nation's capital to go to grad school, where she got a master's degree in museum studies at George Washington University. So now it's time for the professional path with education behind, and she chooses to move again, but this time to Ireland, where she spent a year working for an archaeological company in Natal, Ireland. I think that's the correct pronunciation. After working there, what better place, if you've been working for an archaeological company, than to move to Fossil, Oregon? So, thanks to a job with OMSI, she spent some time in Fossil, Oregon. Loving Oregon, she then found her way in 2011 to independence. Many of you in this room may have gotten to know Natascha at that point as she was working at Rogue Hop Farms until her professional path guided her to the Family YMCA of Marion and Polk counties as the branch manager located here in the City of Independence. And then in 2016, she was named the Vice President of Youth Development. So those are our professional sides. Many of you may know her for her volunteerism and her spirit of service. And there's been a lot of that, so I'm just going to name a few things. For the City of Independence, she was a member of the Tourism and Events Commission. She was on the Hop and Heritage Festival Committee, as well as serving as the president. She currently is on the Planning Commission, as well as works with Independence Days. In 2014, Natascha was hand-selected to join the delegation going to Denver, Colorado, to represent the city at the All-America Cities Conference, which the City of Independence was named one of 10 All-America Cities. Congratulations. Outside, she's done some other volunteerism. She's currently a facilitator with Strengthening Families. I myself got to know her when she served as a board member for the Monmouth Independence Chamber of Commerce and Visitor Center, as well as served as president. So why does citizenship matter? And more importantly, why does it matter to us that Natascha is a citizen? Because if you look at her experiences, her vast places that she's lived in different cities, in different states, different countries, you look at her knowledge and the skills that she brings, it makes all of us better. Our city, our state, and our country. To become a citizen, though, took some steps, and I won't go through all of those, but I do want to talk about two. So there are two tests you have to take. One is a reading test, where there are components of, or an English test, with components of reading, writing, and speaking. And then there's a civics test, where you have 100 questions that you study, 10 of which are asked, and you have to get at least 6 correct. And that doesn't sound super hard, but ask yourself this. The idea of self-government is the first 3 words of the Constitution. What are those 3 words? How many amendments do we have in our Constitution? And another sample question, the Federalist Papers supported the passage of the U.S. Constitution. Name one of the writers of the Federalist Papers. And there's some easier questions like who's the president? Or who's the governing body? Things like that. So again, why does it matter? Because Natascha has this great wealth of experience. And thankfully she passed the test, completed the other parts of citizenship, and we are here today to celebrate. So without further ado, as you can tell by your program, there are 2 brief videos that we'll be watching, Faces of America and Fight for the Right to Vote. Following that, City of Independence Mayor John McArdle will share some words as well as provide the oath. And then we'll have the national anthem. Natascha will share some words, and that will conclude the ceremony. So thank you all for being here, and we'll watch the videos.
3 words that would sum up Americans are free, ambitious, and giving.
Generosity, productivity,
determination,
democracy,
brave,
the freedom,
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 leadership. The world expects America to lead.
The world expects America to have the values and the freedom and the history of our country being one of diversity and openness and democracy.
We're first and foremost an immigrant nation.
A nation of immigrants.
We became a nation of nations, a nation that is touched by every nation, and we in turn touch every nation.
Yet it's a nation of immigrants who have prospered in a way that has never been seen before.
If different people coming from different backgrounds and coming from different countries can all come here and achieve something and rise to the top, then there's something special about this place.
America is a land of opportunity.
We're a nation of entrepreneurs. We have this incredible entrepreneurial spirit.
Innovativeness is celebrated and honored.
If you really work hard, you can really make a better life for your family.
Who says we can't do it? That's an inherent part of the American spirit.
A sense, again, that all men and women can all aspire to achieve whatever they want to set their hearts on.
It's quite literally a case of the sky being the limit. Even the sky isn't the limit. We can go beyond that.
And I think it is a country that does enable individuals to be all they can be.
Any child can grow up now thinking that you can be anybody and anything you want to be, as long as you get your education, you get a good start in life, you believe in yourself, and you believe in the American dream.
I hope we can always preserve those special aspects, what make us unique.
That American dream still lives on. And to the extent that one can be proud of being American, I think that's the thing one can be proudest of.
There's just a special feeling, a special sense of belonging when you're an American. And I love it, and I'm proud to be an American.
When the next general election rolls around, who will be eligible to show up at the polls and vote for the President of the United States? It's really pretty simple. If you are at least 18 years old, a citizen of the U.S., and a resident of a state, you can vote. Assuming, that is, you're not a felon. Seems about right. After all, the United States prides itself on being a democracy, or a government in which the ultimate authority lies with the citizens of the nation. But it was not always this way. In 1789, George Washington won the Electoral College with 100% of the vote. But whose vote was it? Probably not yours. Only 6% of the entire United States population was allowed to vote at all. Voting was a right that only white male property owners were allowed to exercise. By the 1820s and 1830s, the American population was booming from the East Coast into the western frontier. Frontier farmers were resilient, self-reliant, and mostly ineligible to vote because they did not own land. As these new areas of the nation became states, they typically left out the property requirement for voting. Leaders such as Andrew Jackson, the United States' first common man president, promoted what he called universal suffrage. Of course, by universal suffrage, Jackson really meant universal white male suffrage. All he emphasized was getting rid of the property requirement for voting, not expanding the vote beyond white men. By the 1850s, about 55% of the adult population was eligible to vote in the U.S., much better than 6%, but far from everybody. Then, in 1861, the American Civil War began largely over the issue of slavery and states' rights in the United States. When it was all over, the U.S. ratified the 15th Amendment, which promised that a person's right to vote could not be denied based on race, color, or previous condition as a slave. This meant that black men, newly affirmed as citizens of the U.S., would now be allowed to vote. Of course, laws are far from reality. Despite the promise of the 15th Amendment, intimidation kept African Americans from exercising their voting rights. States passed laws that limited the rights of African Americans to vote, including things like literacy tests, which were rigged so that not even literate African Americans were allowed to pass, and poll taxes. So, despite the 15th Amendment, by 1892, only about 6% of black men in Mississippi were registered to vote. By 1960, it was only 1%. And of course, women were still totally out of the national voting picture. It wasn't until 1920 that the women's suffrage movement won their 30-year battle, and the 19th Amendment finally gave women the vote. Well, white women. The restrictions on African Americans, including African American women, remained. After World War II, many Americans began to question the state of U.S. democracy. How could a nation that fought for freedom and human rights abroad come home and deny suffrage based on race? The modern civil rights movement began in the 1940s with those questions in mind. After years of sacrifice, bloodshed, and pain, the United States passed the Voting Rights Act of 1965, finally eliminating restrictions such as literacy tests and protecting the voting rights promised under the 15th Amendment to the Constitution. Now, any citizen over the age of 21 could vote. All seemed well, until the United States went to war. When the Vietnam War called up all men aged 18 and over for the draft, many wondered whether it was fair to send men who couldn't vote to war. In 1971, the 26th Amendment to the Constitution made all citizens 18 and older eligible to vote, the last major expansion of voting rights in the United States. Today, the pool of eligible voters in the U.S. is far broader and more inclusive than ever before in U.S. history. But, of course, it's not perfect. There are still active efforts to suppress some groups from voting, and only about 60% of those who can vote do. Now that you know all the hard work that went into securing the right to vote, what do you think? Do enough citizens have the right to vote now? And among those who can vote, why don't more of them do it?
Good evening. Welcome. It really is an honor today to be part of this celebration of adding another person, a new citizen to our country. I'm an immigrant. I'm a naturalized citizen. It's kind of special for me to be part of this today. You know, as it was mentioned earlier, becoming a citizen is not an easy task. It takes a conscious effort to become a citizen through the naturalization process. And there's, as was mentioned, lots of work, late nights studying for tests, hours of screening and interviews, and it's not something that's casual or for the faint of heart. You all know we are a nation, a country of immigrants. All believe that this country, the United States of America, holds the best opportunity, not a guarantee, but an opportunity for a successful life for themselves and for their families. Some people here today, their parents or their grandparents came here more than 100 years ago. Some of us came a little bit over 50 years ago, and then there are others who came just a handful of years ago. People are here not just because of the opportunities that are available, they're also here because of the values that we as Americans hold dear. You know, it's fitting that this ceremony is being held on Martin Luther King Day. He reminded all of us that in this country we must continue to work so that all are judged not on the color of their skin, not on where they came from, not on how they honor their Creator, but on what they do, what they are as individuals in our community. Our values as a country, a state, and this community are based on being welcoming, on being inclusive, on service, on friendliness and kindness. The people that are here today, and I know so many of you, I know share these American values. Today, we gather to honor our friend Natascha as a new citizen, one who's demonstrated an understanding of the rights and responsibilities that go with citizenship. A person already active in her community, and with the sweat, the challenges, the scars, and the piles of stuff from 101 things that are required as she's doing her part in her own way, along with so many of the rest of you, as we work together to form a more perfect union. It's now my honor to complete the ceremonial swearing in citizenship process. I'm going to ask Natascha to come forward with whom she would choose. Okay. I hereby declare on oath. Citizenship swearing in, take two. I hereby declare on oath.
I hereby declare on oath.
That I absolutely and entirely.
That I absolutely and entirely.
Renounce and adjure all allegiance.
That I renounce and adjure all allegiance.
and fidelity to any foreign prince,
and fidelity to any foreign prince,
potentate, state, or sovereign,
potentate, state, or sovereign,
of whom or which I have
heretofore
been a subject or citizen,
heretofore been a subject or citizen,
that I will support and defend the Constitution
that I will support and defend the Constitution
and the laws of the United States of America
and the laws of the United States of America
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the same,
that
I will bear arms on behalf of the United States
I will bear arms on behalf of the United States
when required by law,
when required by law,
that I will perform non-combatant service
that I will perform non-combatant service
in the armed forces of the United States
in the armed forces of the United States
when required by law,
when required by law,
that I will perform work of national importance
that I will perform work of national importance
under civilian direction
when
directed by the law, and that I take this obligation freely without mental reservation or purpose of evasion. So help me. Congratulations. Welcome our brand new citizens. Now, if you'll continue standing, and the rest of you can join us, and we have the national anthem.
You ready? Gonna sing?
Today I find myself in a room with people I love most and hold dearest. We're celebrating a moment in my life that means a great deal to me, and to have you all here is incredible. Thank you. There are times in our lives where we encounter struggle. Additionally, we are faced with choices. Sometimes struggle and choice are intertwined, sometimes not. Some choices are easy, some twist us up inside as we weigh our options. But when I say we encounter struggle, I have to admit that I choose the word with deliberate intention. We encounter struggle, because no matter how great, or at the time, how unsurmountable or shattering the struggle may feel, when you are surrounded by love and belong to a community that cares, any struggle is surmountable. Becoming a U.S. citizen has been a dream of mine since I was very young. I clearly remember sitting in a 4th grade social studies class in an all-girls school, hearing the teacher say, "One day, one of you can become president." And then she looked me straight in the eye and said, "Except you." And I remember at that point thinking, oh yeah, watch me. And while I now know that she was 100% correct, the spirit of, oh yeah, watch me, is as American as apple pie. And I thank her for lighting that spark in me. Over the years, I've been called naive, idealistic, too optimistic, if there is such a thing. Because I've always believed that if you work hard and wake up each morning with a deliberate, positive attitude, it is our job, our responsibility, to do our part to make the world a better place. After the last presidential election, I felt defeated, and a true level of hopelessness spread through my body. I began to feel that perhaps there wasn't anything to be done. Thankfully, my hopelessness was short-lived. As I marched the streets of Portland with Abigail on January 21st of last year, along with thousands of other people, I realized I was surrounded by others who were encountering struggle. We all had a choice to make, and I realized that we all still had a voice. After the march, I was inspired, emotional, to have shared such a historic moment with Abigail, and my passion and love for this country was reignited. The next choice to make was to decide how to keep this momentum going. For me, it was to finally apply to become an American citizen. Because with citizenship, I could finally gain the right and privilege to vote and the opportunity to perhaps run for office one day. Yes, I still believe that I should strive to make the world a better place, but my focus has narrowed. Today, I'm quite certain, and for the rest of my days, I'm focused on teaching my strong, smart Abigail that she can do anything. Yes, she will encounter struggle, and yes, she will face choices, but she, like I, is in a room surrounded by love, a room, a community, and a country that believes she can do anything. We all find ourselves in complicated, questionable times, but what we must remember is to continue to question, to continue to demand facts, truth, and evidence-based science. Because amongst the confusion, the deception, and the attempt to normalize bigotry and hate, we must also remember that we find ourselves in a moment where the courage of women speaking up is like nothing we've ever seen. We are living in a time where perseverance and the telling of our truth is power. We are living in a time where we see women overcoming century-old notions of gender roles. We are living in a time where maintaining hope, inspiring change, and witnessing a cultural transformation is as simple as #MeToo. Every struggle, every choice we make and face bring us to points in our lives. In this country, many of us are afforded opportunities that others in the world are not. I am tremendously grateful to find myself at this point, in this moment, standing here. For me, becoming an American citizen was a matter of paying a fee, filling out lots of paperwork, and studying for a test. At the end of my 8-month journey, I've been afforded a right, a privilege, a tremendous opportunity that for many in this country is unobtainable. I know and understand the importance of change and the impact one vote and one voice can have. It's our duty to make the world a better place for all. It's my responsibility to demonstrate to Abigail that one voice can make a difference. It's my obligation to distill in Abigail that love trumps hate and that she, like me, can vote and one day run for office. I'm incredibly grateful that you're all gathered here today. Thank you to Mayor McArdle for being such an inspiration and a part of this celebration. Thank you to Jean for running the show. Thank you to my mom for flying all the way from Georgia to be a part of this moment. Thank you to Bryant for bringing more love into my life. And Abigail, my sun, my moon, and my shining star. May you always dream and know that anything is possible. And this is the best part. My fellow Americans and Mom, Thank you all for coming. I hope you'll join us at Arena to raise a glass, or maybe a couple more. Thank you so much.
I want to do something with you.